is my 2024 Noli Chilcotin 170. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, I've been riding this bike for a couple months now, and a lot of you have noticed I've already made some changes. So let's finally do a bike check and talk about those changes. So this is the brand new 2024 Noli Chilcotin frame, and it's not just a new color for this year, but it's a total redesign of the frame. Now, I went over a ton of the details with Noel, the engineer who owns Noli and designed this whole bike, in another video where we built this bike. So if you want to hear a ton of detail about that, go check out that video. But for today, let's just kind of go over how it's set up. So I'm 6 feet tall without shoes on, maybe a little taller with 5'10s, and I'm riding a size large. This is the pink colorway. Unfortunately, I think they only made about 8 of these, and I really love it. It's too bad they didn't make more, but actually the other colors that this frame come in are also very sick. I really like the blue and chrome. Now, if you're not familiar with Noli, they make high quality aluminum bikes. All their bikes are aluminum, and that's part of the reason I love them. They've been super strong, super reliable. Now, a few changes for this frame. They've gone a little slacker in the head tube angle. They've gone a little steeper in the seat tube angle. All the tubing is new. They've got a one-piece mono rocker link with all bearings here, and it's a little longer in the rear end as well. So overall, it makes for a very big, stable bike that is perfect for the North Shore. You can also run this bike in a shorter travel configuration. If you use a shorter stroke shock, you can do 150 mil of travel in the rear, and you can pair that with a 160 mil fork just to give the bike a more all-mountain feel rather than, enduro sled like the configuration I have now. And so for a shock, I'm running the DHX2. I really like this shock. Having all the settings, it's a bit of a faff to figure out exactly what's going to work for you, but you know what? It's just so nice to tune it exactly the way I want it. And so, yeah, this has been a great shock. I'm about 220 geared up, and I'm running a 550 coil. I'm running the SDG Bell Air seat that just comes stock with Noli. These seats have been good, so haven't bothered changing that out. But I do have it paired to a 210 mil one-up dropper. Now, I could actually run a 240 dropper because Noli's they've got this big straight seat tube, and you can run super long droppers in all the frames. But 210 feels about right. I still like to do no-handers, and if I drop the seat even lower, it gets hard to pinch the seat. So 210 is good. Sticking with the 210. Okay, let's move to the back of the bike because I think a lot of you have some interesting questions back there. Okay, so back at the rear of the bike, I'm running a DHR2 in the double down casing with a max grip tire. I actually think I can get away with XL Plus tires. That's what I've always usually ran. Every now and then I'd get a flat, but everyone told me to try double down. It's nice to have a little bit of a stiffer tire, but yeah, they're also a little heavier, so I think I'll go back to XL Plus on my next round of tires. I've also got Cushcore in there, and of course, still running the Noble TR37 wheels. Noble is a supporter of the channel, and I'm very stoked about that because having carbon wheels is great. And by far one of the most not overlooked benefits of carbon wheels, but something that I think people don't really appreciate as much as they should, is that they are just so reliable. You don't have to do a ton of maintenance on them, which I was doing on aluminum wheels all the time. Between denting them, the spokes coming loose, having to just always deal with that kind of stuff and all the tension, getting out of true. Yeah, I just don't ever do anything to these wheels. I just leave them. They are built extremely well, and yeah, after a year, I check them out. They're still good. I haven't even had to fiddle with the spokes or anything. So very stoked on the carbon wheels, and you can check them down in the link in the description. I actually have a discount code if you want to pick up a set of wheels. They're already a great price, and with the discount code, even better price. So go check them out. Now here's where I think a lot of you have some questions. You'll see that I'm running a XT drivetrain, even though when I posted pictures of this bike and did all the announcements in the bike build, I had the new SRAM GX transmission. Now I like the SRAM GX transmission. It's so close to being exactly what I want. It's super reliable. The shifting is very smooth. It's easy to set up, all that stuff. It's just the clutch I find is still too weak. And I talked to SRAM about it. They replaced the clutch for me. Yeah, I just couldn't get it to quiet down. Like it was on bigger hits, the derailleur was always breaking away, and a big slap was always going to the bottom of my chainring. And we've got a lot of big repeated hits here on the shore, so I just felt like my bike was louder than it needed to be. And now I think a lot of people, just looking at the reviews and stuff, if you feel the new transmission, the spring is very tight. Like if you go to push it, the spring sort of preloading the derailleur, pulling it back is tight, but the clutch mechanism, sort of the friction clutch, still feels pretty loose. And that's why I've just gone back to the Shimano drivetrain. It's got an adjustable clutch, which I really like. And honestly, if the SRAM transmission had an adjustable clutch, it would still be on this bike. because I really like it. And yeah, I'm still trying to think about ways to make it better. I could run a lower guy to stop the chain slap on the rear of the chainring, on the bottom of the chainring that is. But yeah, I don't want to do that. So anyways, back to Shimano. It's a bit more of a faff, but it's worth it for the quiet bike. And yeah, I think my bike's been extra quiet. I think if you watch some of my last videos, especially with the silent hubs that we'll get to here, I'm super happy with how solid this bike sounds on the trail. Now, sticking with the drivetrain, I am running some 5DEV components up there. That is the 5DEV titanium cranks. You know, we've gone all out. This is the baller build. They are the 167.5 mil, I think. I think I actually would go back to 170 mil cranks. I think I'm tall enough and ride big enough bikes that shorter cranks don't benefit me as much. I think shorter riders really benefit from shorter cranks, but yeah, I feel like I kind of like that 170 mil range. So yeah, I went with the 167.5s, a little bit longer because I've been running like 160s the last few bikes. And yeah, kind of going back to slightly longer cranks these days. And then other than that, they look extremely sick. These are the coolest looking cranks I've ever seen, which is why I want them. And they're titanium, so that's just a cool thing to bring up. I'm running the 12% oval chainring. I'm also a big fan of oval chainrings. I've got a very punchy pedaling style, and so oval chainring just smooths that out. You know, so it's harder when you've got a lot of power you can put down, and it goes to sort of a smaller diameter when you don't have as much power, so it smooths out my bad pedaling cadence. Then running the Chromag Daga pedals, just a big wide pedal with a ton of grip. Actually too much grip for some people, and every now and then I find my feet are stuck to the pedal when I want to take them off, but most of the time that's a good thing. Now you'll also notice I'm running the oil slick spokes from Noble. That's something you can ask them for, and yeah, pretty much Noble can build up any kind of wheel you want. So yeah, if there's some sort of color spoke combination you want, let them know and they'll get it done for you. Those spokes go into the Onyx Classic hubs. I've got the Onyx Classic back here and up front. I want to go back to these hubs because they're silent, and yeah, the Onyx Classic's been really reliable. I've heard some people have some trouble with the Vespers, which are a lighter hub, and since I'm a heavier rider and I feel like I end up putting a lot of power down when I pedal, just stuck with the Classics because I've never had any trouble with them. It's just the extra weight's worth that reliability for me, and yeah, I wanted them just to make, again, my bike as silent as possible, and yeah, they do a good job of that. Another change I made to the bike, which you probably can't see because, well, that's the point. I'm working with Ride Wrap this year, and they're going to be helping out and wrapping all my bikes. And I've got the gloss wrap on my bike. They make custom wraps for basically every bike out there and every fork. And it's just a way to protect your bike that you just do it when you get the bike. Keeps the bike looking clean the entire time, protects it from scratches and all that kind of stuff. You can go check them out in the link to the description. And yeah, you can get a custom wrap for basically any bike or any fork. Okay, so you might have also noticed one other change up front here in the cockpit. I'm running the 32 mil titanium stem from 5DEV. Normally I run the 48 mil, and I've done that on the last few bikes, but with this bike having a longer reach, I decided, you know what, let's try the shorter stem. I'm still unsure of which one I prefer. The shorter stem does make the bike feel a little more playful, easier to manual, stuff like that. But the 48 mil stem just made the bike feel even more stable, and it was easier to weight the front. So yeah, I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of leaning towards going back to the 48 mil, but I'm gonna try this for a little bit longer. Then again, running the 1-up carbon bars. This is the 20 mil rise, whatever the shorter of the rise is. Yeah, I just like the geometry of these bars, and they feel nice. They've been my go-to, so yeah, decided just to go with them again. Now, if you guys have watched the last few videos, you'll have noticed that I've switched out my brakes. I did start out with the Shimano XT brakes, but I've switched over to the SRAM Mavens. Now, when you heard me talk about the transmission, you probably thought, this guy's just a SRAM hater. But no, I've got the SRAM Mavens on. Now, I'm also actually not a huge fan of the Code RSCs. I don't really enjoy the way the lever feels, and I found that there just wasn't enough power. But the SRAM Mavens have a ton of power. The most power I felt from any brake. And even though they still feel like Codes, a little bit lighter, so definitely better, but they still feel definitely like Codes, I'm willing to put up with that because the power is just so good. And at my weight and the way I want to ride, you know, places like Squamish, it's amazing to have that much power, and the modulation is still very good. And now I still do prefer the lever actuation feel of, say, like the TRP or the Haze. It's just a little bit lighter. And sure, I wish the Mavens felt more like the TRP or the Haze, but again, the power is just unbeatable, and it's worth it for me to sort of deal with the lever actuation to have access to all that power. Now, up at the front of the bike, I'm running a 180 mil Fox 38. It's got the Grip 2 damper, and yeah, it's the fancy Kashima. So yeah, you've seen this fork a lot. Nothing more to talk about really. I'm running 2 tokens in here at about 95 PSI, and a lot of people ask me about my settings and all that, but yeah, it's just so personal. Even that pressure and tokens and things like that depends on your bike, depends where you ride, depends on your setup. I wouldn't exactly just copy that if you're just a similar weight. All I do is I just play around until I find something, and I would encourage everyone to just do that. That's what works best. I've got the Fox XL mudguard here. Just bolts on super nice to the fork, looks nice and clean. I'm running a double down Maxxis Assegai out front. This has just been the grippiest tire that I can find, and yeah, the more grip, the more better. I am also running Cush Core in the front because I like to run super low pressures, and yeah, the Cush Core helps just support the tire and keep it from squirming around too much in there. Of course, running the Noble TR37 rim up front too, which you heard all about in the back there, and the Onyx classic front hub, and of course, the oil slick spokes. I'm running a 220 HS2 rotor out front, and I guess I should also mention the Mavens come with organic pads because they think, oh, it's gonna have too much power. But no, I switched them out to the metallic pads, and I'm still running a 220 rotor up front because, yeah, I just want all the power. I know some of the reviewers complained that the metallic pads and the big rotor was too much power, but in my opinion, so far, no such thing. Give me all the power you have, and I really like this setup. All right, that's it for my 2024 Noli 170 bike check. Thanks to all my partners that are supporting the channel this year: RideWrap, Noli, Noble Wheels, 5Dev, Kinetic Cycles, NF. They've all been super supportive of the channel, so go check them out in the link description. If you support them, it also supports the channel, so that's very much appreciated. And if you have any questions about the bike, if there's something I missed, something you want to know more about, leave a comment down below. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one.